And a rather wet and soggy morning here in Phuket, but only in the last 10 minutes or so. And we say good morning to some of the people who have joined us today. We've got Paul Henry, we've got Tony Kay from Phuket, we've got Paul's from Bangkok, by the way. Just turning the volume down and of course doing our perfunctory check to make sure that you can hear us this morning, because that's always important. We've also got Leon joining us from Kansas City. Hello to Jolly Fox. Great to have you with us. Where are you from, Jolly Fox? Good morning from Darm One. A very soggy Klang. We've also got people from Komiroto. Where the hell is Komiroto? Right. So just getting myself ready. We've got plenty to talk about today. A rather busy day and some crazy things that have happened over the past 24 hours here in Thailand. There's always plenty to talk about, isn't there? Good morning, Tiger from Bangalore. And great to have you with us all the way from India. And 5x5. Thanks, Bob B. And we've got Pattaya Beach with the Snives. Great to have you with us, and welcome to everybody up there in Pattaya. And we've got sunny Queensland. Peter E. John Aussie, good morning from the Netherlands. Well, yeah, as I mentioned, we had a lovely, beautiful, fine morning here in Phuket, and it's all gone south in the past 10 minutes. We've just had a sudden surge of rain, but as sort of happens this time of the year, you get these sudden surges, a bit of a downpour, and everything turns back to normal pretty quick. And yeah, it'll be sunshine in another 5 minutes, and we would have forgotten about the rain. Hello from Berkeley in California. That's a fair trip from Thailand. Hi, Bob Dixon. Thank you for joining us. John D. Sweaty Club from Melbourne, Australia, my old stamping ground. We've got KL, San Diego, Perth with Gary McDonald. We've got people from right around the world, and what a pleasure it is to have you with us. We're going to go through all the main headlines from around Thailand, and then we've got two specific talking points, which you can see on the thumbnail. Big flip-flop in the mask wearing in Phuket. How that even happened is just a mystery to me, but we'll get to that. And what else have we got to talk about? Oh yes, our favourite, the Public Health Minister, has also once again put his foot in his mouth. I think he's put both feet, both hands, and half his staff in his mouth, because he's really made a faux pas in the past 24 hours and certainly hasn't endeared himself to, well, anybody in particular. From Notting Hill, says PBO. Notting Hill in the UK? I don't know. There's probably a few Notting Hills around. Good morning, Tim, and all watching from La Plau. Thank you for joining us, Alan. Mackie says, sad to see you leaving the Tiger, Tim. Yeah, I'll get to that probably a bit later as well. Tim, you need a bar girl and a Leo. Well, it's 10 o'clock in the morning, and I don't drink alcohol, but I'll certainly join in with a soda or a lemonade with you anytime. And g'day from Chiang Mai, says Jupiter Flambe. Where do you get some of these names from? Good heavens. Just reminding you that Thaiger Weekend update, Jay will be with you tomorrow. I'm keeping the seat warm today. And then we've got a bit of a crazy week next week. Jay and Natty will be doing Good Morning Thailand from the office in Bangkok. Then from Tuesday to Friday, we're doing the program from Phuket. I'll be hosting it on the Tuesday and Wednesday. Jay has to attend to a few domestic matters, like getting his license, and a few other things. So he'll be joining me in Phuket on Thursday and Friday. Anyway, let's get on with the news. Well, thanks, Chris, for giving me a hurry up, but it's a good chance to get stuck into things, so let's do that. So I wanted to have a talk about a few things in no particular order. Firstly, there was a story yesterday, and these stories come up from time to time. The story, the headline in the Tiger was illegal Burmese immigrants arrested in connection with a local man's death. And just to bring you up to date with this story, police arrested more than 100 illegal Burmese immigrants yesterday as they ramped up an investigation into the murder of a local man. the 40-year-old from Hat Yai in Songkhla, we're talking right deep down south in Thailand near the Malaysian border, was found in a freshly dug shallow grave in a forest behind a golf course. His feet were bound, a piece of red cloth was tied around his head and mouth, and a black bag was around his neck. Clearly a bit of a hit job there. And police revealed that he'd been hit on the right side of the head with a hard object, which was probably the thing that killed him. So, following that up, police swooped to arrest 109 illegal Burmese nationals who had been crammed into 12 rooms in 2 rented houses in a village nearby. So if we just want to decode this, these illegal Burmese immigrants, these are people who have mostly been trafficked through Thailand, and mostly by Thais, of course, so they can get them through Thailand. In the past, there have been some more official people who have been allegedly involved in some of this trafficking. But these are desperate Burmese people trying to get a job, and in some cases heading down to Malaysia. But the easiest way to get there, of course, is through Thailand. So it seems to me to be a bit of a blame job. So I'm not sure why they're blaming the people who would have basically been incarcerated and locked up in this accommodation, this temporary accommodation. And it's much more likely to be another trafficker, much more likely to be a fellow Thai who would have been involved in this job. And it just seems to be, as happens often, sadly, that the Burmese people are being blamed for this particular murder. But a sad situation indeed. Let's move on to something a little bit happier, a little bit brighter. In fact, 7 colours brighter, and that's Pride. Now, for the very first time, and a thing that we haven't really seen in Bangkok before, is an official Pride parade. So in the midst of a very conservative government, we've got this Pride parade. It's going to be happening tomorrow. The headline, or the main thrust of the story, in case you didn't know, Bangkok will be holding its first real Pride parade, Bangkok Narumit Parade. And it's a celebration, of course, of Thailand's LGBT community. The parade is set to start from 4 p.m. and I'm not aware of these venues, but it's starting at the Maha Uma Devi Temple, which is a Hindu temple, sometimes called Wat Kak, or the South Asian temple in Thai slang. And that temple is located on Pan Road and Silom Road. Pretty much, if you're somewhere in Silom, I think you're going to be seeing this Pride Parade tomorrow. It starts at 4 p.m. and it'll be finishing up. There's going to be an after party at 9 p.m. at the Mischa Cheap bar on Khao Road. So, sort of thinking that's not going to be closing at midnight, is it? So good luck to all those people who are involved in the Pride Parade tomorrow. This story I just love. I love stories like this. Where are we? Here we are. And it's actually a headline in the Bangkok Post today. Army wasted 7.5 million baht probing duds. Now, this has been something that I've been aware of as an Australian citizen. Some 30 years ago, there were these divining rods that you could use to find water. Proved to be a complete fabrication, a farce, just a con. Well, the Army hired the National Science and Technology Development Agency for more than 7.5 million baht to examine so-called, even got a name, GT200 bomb detectors that had already been proven to be fake. So this was actually a claim made during the budget session in the Thai Parliament yesterday. Apparently the Army awarded the NSTDA a 7.5 million baht contract to examine a total of 757 GT200 bomb detectors, and they're priced at 10,000 baht each. Now, previous inspections of the GT200 devices found that each one consisted of 2 stiff plastic pieces and didn't contain any electric components whatsoever. And there's even a picture there on the Bangkok Post site. I'm sure we'll be doing a version of that story on the Thaiger today. But just astonishing that they can spend 7.5 million baht to work out if 2 bits of plastic can detect a bomb. Astonishing. Let's just go quickly to some of your comments, then we'll get to some of our main topics today. Okay, what do we got? Says a gathering of too many people, watch out for police interference, says Richard McCormick, referring, I suppose, Richard, to the Pride March. I imagine people will have to wear their face masks. Let's see if they do. I've got a funny feeling we're going to see lots of pictures on Monday of people enjoying the Pride Parade and very probably not wearing their masks. Nong Wuso says the Thai pass is so easy now. Yeah, some other people have said that to me during the week, that now the Thailand pass, they're getting it approved much quicker. And of course, the actual paperwork is much less after May the 1st. No changes to the Thailand pass on June the 1st, unless you're a Thai national, when the need for a Thailand pass was eliminated. But for foreigners, you still need a Thailand pass. But it appears that it is being approved much quicker now. Marty Allen says all of these government officials are taking their orders from the cabal masters. Really? How about going into the chemtrails? Oh no, Martin. Time for your coffee. Okay, Leon says if you stick the pieces of plastic in the ground, you might be able to detect something. Leon, you're onto something there. If you give me 7.5 million baht, I'll get some pieces of plastic together and let's stick them in the ground and see if we can detect bombs. But I think you're right, a much better chance of detecting bombs or mines if you stick them in the ground. Don't press too hard though, right? Okay, what else have we got here? Have a good day, Tim, off to play badminton. Thank you, Teddy Bear. Goodbye, farewell. Enjoy your badminton. Too long in Thailand will turn you gay, says 212 Roger. I'm not really sure if that's correct, but good luck. David Benjamin says, awesome Pride Parade in Bangkok. And Tim, the Grand Marshal. No, I'm not participating in the Pride Parade in Bangkok. I suppose if I was there, I'd go and have a bit of a look. I've been to, as a lot of tourists have been, to the Gay and Lesbian Mardi Gras in Sydney. That's a huge event, like really, really huge, and attended by a lot of tourists from around the world, including this one from Melbourne a couple of times. Hi from Rayong, says Roger. Good to have you with us this morning, Roger. Do you have stalkers, Tim? Couple behind you look the same as last time you streamed at Dean and DeLuca. Actually, Dating Guru, they come every single day and they sit at the same seats and go through the same routine. They have the same menu. I have introduced myself to them before. I can't remember their names, but yeah. I don't pay them to be here. They're here every day. Obviously got a lot more money than I have. Stalkers. Stalkers. No, they're not stalkers. They wouldn't say boo to me. They couldn't care less. Okay, so Chris, I have been doing the news. Okay, I have been doing the news. Stephen Hamden from Pattaya and Canada says good morning. And Pat Tai says, oh no, Sir Tim leaving the Thaiger, cry. Well, it's not that bad. If all the Indians are in Pattaya, then who is in India? The Snives, India is a country of some 1.3 billion people. Just double checking that. Population of India, 1.38 billion people. 1.38 billion Indian people are not in Pattaya at the moment. I'm not actually in Pattaya to confirm that. It's just a bit of a wild guess, but I'm pretty sure I'm safe with that one. Dave Sutard says, too much Thailand might make you realise you were already gay, bro. All right, not quite sure where all these people are going with these comments. The Wu-Tang Life, again, I'm just reading these comments completely without any preparation. Sometimes I get halfway through and go, why am I reading this? Anyway, the Wu-Tang Life. In good faith says, Tim, why are sidecars on motorbikes illegal in Thailand? I hear you cannot get insurance or a bike license plate if you have a sidecar. So all those food carts illegal. I'm trying to remember the name. What are they called? Somlaw? I think they're called Somlaw. I know. People in the comment section are going to remind me. But yeah, that's the motorbike where it's got the sidecar and the two wheels. And you see a lot of them, especially sort of when you get out of Bangkok. But even in Bangkok, you'll see them quite often as people taking their goods and sometimes their family. Sometimes they are actually towed. So you get a motorbike with a tow bar and a somlaw behind it. And sometimes they put granny in there sitting on a chair, no seatbelt. So they tend to be quite good little machines for carrying things around. But I understand that officially they are unlegal and you can't get them either registered or insured. So, but like a lot of things in Thailand, TIT, Salang. The Samlaw is the three-wheeled like tuk-tuks. Salang. I think you might be right. So who was saying that? Anyway, whoever said... Gips. Thank you very much, Gips Jacob. Yeah, I think they are called Salang. The Samlaw is the three-wheeled like tuk-tuks. Anyway, I think you know these. I wish I could bring up a picture and show you. I suppose I can. Salang, Thailand. We'll see if we can get a photo. There we go. It's not quite the same. Other pictures. See if we can find one so we know what people are talking about. And some of them, they use them sort of... Here we are. This is, I think, what most people... Can you see that? There you go. That's sort of a salang there. Pretty good depiction. So that's the one that I think he's referring to. And yeah, technically they are illegal. So doesn't stop people from using them. And if you come to Thailand, you're going to see thousands of them. Does the Thailand government always flip-flop so much, says Case. I'm new here and it always seems like every other day firm statements are switched around. Okay, so let's get into this main topic. Now, you'd be aware that during the week it was announced that the Phuket governor lifted some of the mask restrictions, saying that people in open areas like beaches and parks, as long as they were 2 metres away from each other, were allowed to remove their face mask. If they weren't sick, they were welcome to exercise without their face mask. So basically this was a lifting of what some people call the mask mandate. I prefer to call it a face mask requirement. And well, of course, we wrote a story about it. It wasn't 24 hours later when the news came out, including an infographic from the government, that in fact that wasn't the case. The mask wearing requirement was reinstated. So it was only 24 hours that Phuket had this variation on the mask wearing requirement, which was different from the rest of Thailand. This is actually quite fascinating. The rule that I was aware of for provinces, and the 77 provinces around Thailand have a certain degree of autonomy. When it came to matters of COVID-19 and the regulations as brought down by the CSA and powered by the emergency decree, including the wearing of face masks, the rule was that provincial governors were able to introduce their own COVID restrictions or variations as long as they were equal to or greater than those imposed by the CSA. So that's the official outline of what was required. So I was wondering how, sorry, just adjusting things here, how on earth the Phuket governor was able to unilaterally change the rule for Phuket. And I was also wondering how on earth that Phuket, again, was given some dispensation which was not applied to the other provinces. Okay, one, it's an island. I suppose that makes it, from a health point of view, easier to lock down if it comes to that. But beyond that, I suppose a lot of people in Phuket have already been vaccinated twice, in some cases 3 times, probably the highest rate of vaccination around the country. So maybe that's why the Phuket governor decided this, but he very promptly was called from Bangkok, obviously, and said, mate, you're going to have to change that, reverse your decision. And the Phuket governor just looked both weak and stupid all at the same time. So that's the latest flip-flop. It was also announced that they were going to have this change of the mask policy in Phuket, and very quickly followed up in Bangkok. So of course the rest of the country, we were looking forward to not having to wear a mask around outside in Bangkok, as long as we were 2 metres away from other people, blah, 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 blah. So that is a really interesting situation that's not obviously going to happen in Bangkok. The Prime Minister has already said, no, there's a mask mandate, there's a mask requirement around Thailand, and it's not about to change anytime soon. So if you're a tourist or somebody who just may be thinking of coming to Thailand, and you read the news one day and you read the news the next day, you're going to be really confused. Probably just a little bit more confused than the rest of us that are already here. Question from M. Maranta, nothing about that in particular, says, Tim, have you experienced sandflies in Thailand? M. Maranta, I have. Only once, but I went out to a little island, I'm not going to say the name of the island, and I spent the day there. And to be fair, the people warned me, you've really got to cover up with mosquito repellent and insect repellent, otherwise you're going to be bitten by sandflies. So I went, oh, okay, spray. Very quick spray. Well, let me tell you, that was a big mistake. I should have been marinating myself in this stuff, because I got bitten by sandflies. And it wasn't until the next day where they were coming up, and they were itchy as hell, really uncomfortably itchy. And getting into a hot bath or having a hot shower just made it 100 times worse. And I took some medications and I put some creams on to try and reduce the feeling. But oh gee, it was horrible. And they came up in these red welts, and you wanted to scratch them. What I did is I sort of squeezed them with my fingernails to sort of apply some pain. And then that sort of gave me some relief, but oh, they were horrible. So sandflies, watch out for them. If you do go to an island and they warn you to put some repellent on, just go hard on the repellent, because they were very unpleasant indeed. Loss of sanity, says Dave Soutard, referring, of course, to this crazy flip-flop on mask wearing around Thailand. KJ says, flip-flopping makes it harder to know what the applicable law in force is, especially if the news of the flip-flop wasn't reported. Well, it just makes us look stupid, doesn't it, KJ, where we're reporting one thing one day and we have to report a change of heart the next day. And this is not the first time there's been a change of the regulations and the laws in Thailand. So, yeah, well, it's very annoying, and we do our best to try and keep on top of all these changes, but of course it just makes us look stupid as well. Will there be a tiger float in the parade, asks Paul Weston. No, there won't be a tiger float in the parade. Coconut oil is good to repel sandflies, says Keon Noons. I'm not sure if that's right. I'm not going to recommend that. I'd say if you want to repel sandflies, you're probably going to have to use something a little bit more powerful than coconut oil. Reg Dunlop says, Tim, nobody cares. I'm not sure what you're referring to. Are you referring to the mask flip-flop? If you're saying nobody cares, well, we care as people here in Thailand, because we don't want to get ourselves in trouble, or we don't want to be setting a bad example as foreigners living here in Thailand. I mean, if the government says you've got to wear a mask, well, we'll wear a mask. It's not up to us to stand up and put our hands on our hips and say it's my right not to wear a mask. Not while we're here in Thailand. So as far as saying nobody cares, we also care as a news organisation because we want to try and make sure we're providing information accurately and responsibly and in a timely manner. Reg, I haven't seen your other comments about masks, but I'm sure I probably will as I wander through here. Remembering these comments flick up very quickly and I only read them randomly. Paul Austin says, okay, so you can sit in the cafe, no mask, then go outside and have to put a mask on. That's just stupid. Yes, Paul, that's exactly what you are required to do. Tim, was it Kos Samet? No, it wasn't. And don't go in a guessing game. I'm not going to be telling you. But I think sandflies are on all sorts of islands. But this one, not going to be going back anytime soon. M. Moranta, Jimmy Buffett blew up his flip-flop, a 747 S74. Okay, William says, what if the government told you that men can turn into women? Would you believe that too, Tim? Obviously, I've missed the context of your comments there. Robbo in the Bay. Tim, Dettol and coconut oil mixed as is a good repellent for insects. That sounds a little bit more likely, but wow. You're going to stink and you're going to be very sticky and slimy. Usually, I would say that if you get the usual repellent with the, starts with a P, and citronella and stuff, that tends to work very well against insects as a proper repellent. I use pure tea tree oil for relief. Damn, I think the tea tree oil could possibly be a good relief. Maybe no good at repelling the insects in the first place. Non Wusso says, I wear a mask in the places everywhere. Thai people do mostly the open markets. William says, Tim, do you believe that if the government tells you to wear a mask, you do it? That's what I'm referring to. Well, if the government in Thailand tells me as a foreigner to put a mask on, yes, I'm going to put a mask on. Of course I am. It's not my place here as a foreigner to defy the government of the place that has invited me to, not invited me, but allows me to stay here as a guest. And every 3 months can decide if I'm going to stay here longer. Of course I'm going to. DEET. Not sure if you should be applying DEET to yourself. Batman and Robin support mask wearing. Yes, they do too. And another one, I wear yeah, look, my feeling about masks, and this is just nothing to do with the so-called science of mask wearing. This is just to do with the practicality of being a foreigner here in Thailand. Even when they lift the mask wearing requirement under the emergency decree, and I suspect that's going to happen at the end of July. That's just my timing. Let's see if I'm right. If I'm out in public and the Thai people around me are wearing a mask, I'm just going to pop my mask on. I've got no political reason to be wandering around without a mask and my hand on my hips looking like I'm superior. I'm a guest here and I'll just keep it in my pocket. And if most of the people around me aren't wearing a face mask, I'll gladly take it off. So it's nothing to do with anything else other than just being a guest in this great country that I choose to live in, I want to keep living in, and I am aware of the sensitivities of the Thai people and the people around me. PM announces it is now mandatory to wear flip-flops, says Morpheus. That's very, very clever and quite funny. The mask is the worst when flying for 9 hours. Yeah, wearing a mask on an aeroplane coming to Thailand, I think that would be quite uncomfortable. I have to wear a mask, of course, when I fly down to Phuket or fly back to Bangkok every week. And once again, I sort of get it in a situation just on the bridge of my nose where I don't really notice it anymore. I certainly don't have any problems breathing, but yeah, for 9 hours, yeah, I think you'd be feeling it around the back of your ears, wouldn't you? It would start getting slightly uncomfortable. 212 Roger. a very kind donation of some $50. Happy birthday to my Thai son in Chiang Mai, 9 years old today, June the 4th. Congratulations to your son. We'd like to know his name, 212 Roger. But thank you very much for your extremely kind donation. Of course, that's going to the Bangkok Community Help Foundation. We've been in contact with Greg and Friso over the last week, and I'm sure that Jay will be bringing more up to date with the actual project where the donations are going to be going. But thank you very much for your kind donation. Hey Tim, why aren't you wearing your mask now? Well, I'm actually about 4 metres away from the nearest people, even from the people preparing food, and they've in fact got a glass barrier up between me and them. I'm also in a restaurant where other people aren't wearing their masks. I was eating food here. In fact, I'm consuming a glass of water. So legally, I'm not required to wear a mask in here from a Thai guideline perspective. Speaking of water, Tim, could you take that mask off? We know you are Jay. Well spotted. The Lone Ranger and Zorro support mask wearing too, but not Tonto. Keon Noon says, yes, follow the local norms. Yeah, I mean, it's just makes sense. If you are here as a guest or a tourist and all the locals around you are wearing a face mask, just put the damn thing on. It's not that difficult. If you want to make a show of the fact that you're proud of not wearing a mask, well, good for you. Print it on your t-shirt and walk around proudly. I don't wear a mask. It doesn't bother me. Just be aware of how the other people around you are going to be feeling about you and how they may perceive foreigners if you go about with that sort of behaviour. Dating Guru, a message says, agree Tim, we are a guest here and if you don't like the rules, then leave. Simple. And Marcus Hummel says, how is the baby seat sales going there with the new rule? Same as helmet sales. Marcus, I think you're probably right. Tony K says, agree with the guest point. Another thing I wanted to have a talk about today, I'll get back to your comments very, very soon. And I was just going to talk about Thai coffee. Now, as you know, and they're not sponsoring us. Hi, what's your name? He's forgotten his name. What's your name? Come and say hello. Yeah, come and say hello. No, I got all shy. Okay. I think that's the daughter of one of the staff here. Got a cute smile. Yes, I'm here at Dean and DeLuca in Phuket, and they have pretty good coffee here. In fact, Emma Maranta, Tim is a CIA operative. Oh, damn it, I was hoping to keep that quiet. So, the Thai coffee, that we did an article in the Thaiger yesterday, the story goes, Thailand now ranks in the top 15 coffee exporters of coffee in the world. Thai coffee was never really known, but in recent years, international recognition for Thai coffee has rapidly increased. And this time, Thailand isn't known just for Robusta coffee beans, but also Arabica coffee beans. And this is really interesting because over the past 20 years, I first came to Thailand back in 2000, and not to live here, but as just a tourist. Well, I was a business person at that time. And there really wasn't much of a coffee culture. In fact, it was sort of half difficult to find a good coffee. Now, it's completely ubiquitous. You can't walk 100 metres literally anywhere in Thailand without finding a coffee. Lots of little coffee places. The only difference really here in Thailand is the selection of coffees that you can get. Now, if you go to more of a sort of a coffee cafe in places like Bangkok, you're going to find all the regular espressos and Americanos and lattes and things. But the Thais, they particularly like their iced coffee. And it's usually got 2 shots, sometimes 3, and then it's got a whole lot of condensed sweetened milk. What's the brand? I'm sure people will tell me. and then it's absolutely full of ice. And it'll be put in a plastic cup with a plastic top and a plastic bag with a plastic straw, and they'll walk around with the plastic bag, sucking that as it slowly gets diluted by the ice. And they love it, but not for me. It's way, 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 way too sweet. But the bottom line is that you can get really good coffee here in Thailand now, and it's grown in quite a lot of places. Originally it was grown just up in Chiang Mai, but now grown in all sorts of places. Or yes, Carnation, thank you very much, Carnation sweetened milk. Oh my God, it's so sweet. So yeah, you can get good coffee around Thailand. So interested in your comments, everybody. Let's go to your comments again and see what you've got to say about Thai coffee as we backtrack a bit. But a lot of bad coffee, says John Peake. Well, I suppose there's going to be bad coffee. I tend to think that it's mostly not so much with the actual coffee itself, it's what they end up doing it and how they brew it that ends up making it bad. Question from Dimitri. Tim, do you know of what screening process is like for monkeypox at international arrivals at the airport? I did an editorial about monkeypox a couple of days ago, not to add any fear to the situation, but to point out a few interesting things about monkeypox. The screening is just a couple of questions. If you come from countries, I think it's currently 34 countries where monkeypox cases have been identified, it's just a series of questions, yes or no. So, no, it's not an issue. There's no testing or anything like that, but just a very minor question might be asked at immigration if you've come from some of those countries where it has been so far identified. And at this stage, nobody in Thailand has been identified with monkeypox. There was a person who went through transit at the Suvarnabhumi airport on their way. They spent 2 hours, and some people were in contact with that person. They were thrown into quarantine for 21 days. Can't believe that. But they are being very, very, very cautious about the monkeypox situation, and I think their intention is to make sure it doesn't end up in the local population. Eileen Morris-Duke, how to get Thai coffee to the US? I suppose you just go online and type in Thai coffee, and I know Coffee Culture, who were a sponsor of Good Morning Thailand for a long time. I think you'd probably get them to send it to you. It might not be particularly cheap, but anyway, yeah, I mean, I'm sure you can get Thai coffee sent to the US. At one stage, the Thaiger was looking at selling coffee. Didn't eventuate, but mainly because we had the sponsor Coffee Culture. Philip G says, many stores have so much stock on hand, the financial loss would be huge for them if the mask drop. I don't think the fact that there are some stocks of face masks, which are so damn cheap anyway, has got anything to do with them keeping the mask requirement continuing in Thailand. As I said, even when they drop the mask requirement, I'm pretty sure a lot of Thais and people from other Asian cultures will continue wearing masks, particularly in public, and particularly on things like flights and planes, even if it's not a legal requirement. So they'll be able to sell those masks over the next few years and decades. I got crabs in Krabi, says M. Miranda. Yeah, I think there are a lot. You see them in the sand, these little shell crabs, and I'm not sure if there's any repellent for them. I'm not sure if they'd even attack you. The Snives says the suction device was so small, like a needle, you could hear it outside your ear. I'm not sure where you're going with that. Again, I've missed the thread of the conversation while I was talking about Thai coffees. I'll try and pick it up. Have you done any videos or reports on Hua Hin? I'll be moving there next year because it's a fantastic golf destination and very affordable. This from Rob, sorry. Rob, that's a really good comment. Natty went down to Hua Hin, about a month ago, and did a couple of stories down there. Hua Hin is a sort of a bit of a sleeping destination at the moment. It hasn't really come to the international attention at the moment. It's 3 hours south of Bangkok. just a little bit further than Pattaya, for example, but on the other side of the Gulf of Thailand. It's literally just a long strip of 3 or 4 kilometres of beachfront, and it's slowly being populated by expats who are enjoying the slightly quieter life down there. Yeah, I think it's a bit of a sleeper at the moment. It's certainly going to become a more popular expat destination. Has some great resorts, got some great attractions, good food, of course, and some golf courses that people are enjoying. So thanks, Rob, for the reminder. A place that I'd probably like to get to and do some reports for you. Okay, I'm not going to go into the cat. I know about the cat and the coffee and the, yes, not going to do that whilst people are enjoying their breakfast. Just getting my earwax removed at the clinic yesterday, says the Snipes. We really don't want to hear about that, but thank you for telling us. Mark Solar says, I was last I was in Phuket. It was 1 year exactly before the tsunami. Have warning systems and escape paths improved? Since the tsunami, which was on December the 26th in 2004, clearly they have put up a lot of evacuation signs. They have occasional, very occasional these days, quick warnings. They sound the horns, make sure everything's working. There are 2 big tsunami buoys placed about 250 kilometres off the shore of Thailand now, which are warning buoys that if there's a big surge in the tide, it can be detected, and that signal is sent straight back to these towers. So, yeah, that's about all we can say about that. I think I did a report a few years ago about one of those buoys not working. Whether that's been fixed or not, I don't know. But let's hope they do work. I mean, obviously the tsunami was an extremely rare event and extremely unlikely to happen in our lives again. Then again, it could happen tomorrow. Tons of European and Scandies here in Hua Hin. Yeah, I think it's quite popular for Scandinavians. Tim is bracing for Nan's sexual harassment suit. Oh, that's rubbish. Why did I read that? Nan has left the Thaiger, and that's okay because she's got some great projects to go on to. She served initially on the Thai part of our YouTube channels and then came across to the English side and provided some really good reports. But she's found some excellent work, and she goes with our blessing and hopes she enjoyed her time at the Thaiger. There's nothing controversial or strange. She's just moving on. I'm not disrespecting the Thaiger, but I think Nan was overqualified for the job. She probably was. And there's no cases with HR or anything. Okay, I watched the video again. It was her accent. Nothing to do with her accent. Oh my God. Most of her videos had subtitles. I mean, she had a strong Thai accent. But she was very popular amongst the staff and popular amongst yourselves. But yes, she's found a great job to go on to. A very talented young girl, and we wish her well. You said you can't impersonate anyone, but I think sometimes you sound like Piers Morgan, says Family Ties. Piers Morgan, he's the English loudmouth. I sort of associate him with some controversies where he stepped over the line. I think if I sound anything like Piers Morgan, that's probably not a good thing. I don't think Piers Morgan's got an Australian accent. I was also in Phuket in September 2003, says M. Maranta, which is a year or so before the big tsunami. Morpheus, coffee culture makes some good blends, international and Italian. Nice. Okay. So I had one other thing I was going to talk about before I'll get to your final comments and then vanish into the sunset here and get on to some other things. And that was that in the Thai Parliament yesterday, they were able to pass the first reading of the 3.2 trillion baht budget. And this will be for the next fiscal year, which starts on October the 1st. Thailand's fiscal year goes from October the 1st through to September the 30th each year. So that passed after a 3-day debate. Now, in an editorial I did yesterday, I was suggesting that there were a few hurdles coming up for the Thai Prime Minister over the next few months, which may even lead to him not being the Thai Prime Minister by the time we come up to the next election, which will have to be called before March next year. One of them was a possibility, a slim possibility, of there being a bit of a revolt, not so much in his own party, but with other conservative forces, which would normally align themselves with Thailand's current conservative coalition. But that didn't transpire. But now that they've got the supply bill through, that only just needs to be signed off by the 250 senators, which were all, after all, appointed, handpicked by the Thai Prime Minister. The next one is a motion of no confidence, which is going to be brought by one of the opposition parties. And it will be interesting to see if the renegade MPs, some 21 of them, led by Tamanat Prompau, will vote against the Prime Minister for that no confidence motion. That'll be coming up apparently in August. And then after that, there is also some debate about when the Prime Minister's 8-year term of being Prime Minister finishes. It all depends on where you say he started his Prime Ministership, and that is something that the Constitutional Court's going to have to debate. But under the current Constitution, a Prime Minister can only remain as such for 8 years. So it will be interesting to see how all that transpires. That is I think it was last night at 6 o'clock we posted that. I think the thumbnail says who will be Thailand's Prime Minister by the end of 2022, if you'd like to watch more about that particular story. On the Thaiger. Okay, to some more of your questions, and just swinging down here. And of course, I'm going to be reading the members' messages first. The Snipes, I'm not disrespecting, I think we've done that one. Okay, and lots of people making money selling masks, probably the only mandate to continue. Dating Guru says, the Snipes, where do you get that clean? Apparently you can get your ears cleaned. I just go into 7-Eleven and get those cotton buds for 20 baht or something. No, Natty is still with us. It's Nan that's left the Thaiger during the past week. Nan had a big following, says Tech Symbol. Yes, she did. She was very popular. Of course, all our presenters add their own personality and colour to the Thaiger, and I think you'll be seeing some new faces in the future as well. I'm on my way to Cha Am and Hua Hin to shoot some vlogs for my new YouTube channel. I live in Jomtien normally. That's from Gary Riley. Good luck with your new YouTube vlog. And it's one thing that Thailand needs is some more YouTube vloggers. Actually noticed there have been quite a few leaving Thailand over the past 4 or 5 months. So Gary, there might be a bit of a hole to fill there. Good luck with your channel. Salva, he's a whining pom. You aren't that much of a whiner. Again, I've missed that one. The Snives, there's a clinic in Pattaya. Apparently there's a clinic that can clean out your ears. I think there's clinics that can clean out all sorts of different orifices in Pattaya, but apparently there's one for ear cleaning. Rob Pittman, beautiful infrastructure such as sidewalks and roads all throughout Hua Hin because it's definitely still a wealthy Thai destination resort with plenty of money from the Thai government to keep it nice. Interesting thought there. Hua Hin was a favourite weekend spot and summer vacation spot for the Thai royal family. In fact, they've still got a very big property down there, but it was followed on by a lot of people who used to go down there of the high-so variety, and I think they still do. It's probably an accurate comment that it's been quite nicely put together and a bit of planning and forethought gone into the preparation of Hua Hin. The Snives is going to drop the number, so if you're interested in getting ear cleaning, then keep an eye on the feed. And a few more things we'll do before I think I've sort of brought you most of the main news. The flip-flopping, and what was the other one? Oh, that's right, the main story today. Oh, this is the big one. I forgot to get to this. Let's do this one, because this absolutely floored me this morning. I'm sorry I forgot this. So getting to that right now. I did that one and just finding it in the feed. And here it is. So our very favourite public health minister has yesterday said that COVID cases in Thailand could reach 10,000 again. Now in the past 3 or 4 days it's got under 3,000. Back on April the 1st it was over 28,000. So there's been a humongous drop in COVID cases. Now what's happened between April the 1st and now, since the cases have gone from 28,000 down to less than 3? Well, we've had a unofficial reopening of bars, not to be confused with the official reopening of bars on June the 1st. We've also had ease of restrictions on the Thailand pass, so more tourists coming into the country. So with some people going back to bars, particularly in the tourist locations around the country, and more foreign tourists coming in, there's been a lowering of numbers of COVID cases. But no, the Public Health Minister says since they have officially reopened the bars and nightlife in Thailand, and that's not just the bars in Pattaya, it's karaoke bars, for example, sports stadiums, massage parlours and things. Since they've reopened officially on June the 1st, after many of them being opened unofficially over the past 3 or 4 months, cases are going to reach 10,000 again. And he's saying that if they do reach 10,000, they're going to start reimposing restrictions. And what is this guy smoking? Seriously, he thinks that we are going to take this warning seriously? Speaking to Associated Press, the Secretary General of the Ministry of Public Health said venues were at high risk because they were loud and people needed to speak louder. Apparently speaking louder spreads COVID-19 more if you're not wearing a mask. Some may remove their mask and get close to one another and speak, which could cause an increase in infections. Anyway, this story I did this morning about 7 a.m. I couldn't believe it when I saw the information on Associated Press and reported also in the Pattaya News. So that revelation that the Public Health Minister, what did I call him in the first line? Thailand's party pooper in chief. Astonishing. What are some other quotes? These are quotes from him yesterday. More ominously, the minister warned that if more than 10,000 cases, daily infections were reported, there could be a reversal of the reopening plans for Thailand's nightlife. We will be looking at strict enforcement for venues, making sure all customers are vaccinated and boosted. So apparently, if you're unvaccinated, you shouldn't be going to venues. There you go. Venues are now applying to reopen. Apparently some 300 nightlife venues around Bangkok have applied to officially reopen again. But just another astonishing statement there from the Public Health Minister, Kun Anutin, a favourite of the Thaiger. The gift that keeps on giving. So that was the other main story I wanted to bring you today. I'm sorry that I left that down near the end of the program. Edward Bishop says another tsunami is not expected before at least 90 years. Well, the thing is, Edward, it could happen tomorrow. Or it may be 990 years before it happens again. It may never happen again in our lifetimes. In fact, statistically, it's much more likely not ever to happen again in our lifetime. But it could be happening now for all I know. I mean, this is completely unknown and gladly unlikely. Tim is cleaning out the driftwood. Chris Clough says flip-flops. Yes, indeed. Not going to read that one out. Nong Wasu. Rob Pittman. But the people here in Vietnam are nowhere near as outwardly friendly as Thais. Markedly so. Yeah, a lot of people talking about how they're not going to go back to Thailand. They're going to go to the Philippines or Cambodia or Vietnam instead because of the Thailand pass, because of the mask wearing requirement. the flip-flopping, whatever cause you want to say. But you're right. I mean, these other locations aren't Thailand, and I'm not sure what you're looking for. If you're looking for cheap alcohol, well, alcohol still seems to be reasonably cheap here in Thailand, depending where you go. So I think it's an interesting phenomenon when people say, well, I'm not going to go to Thailand, I'm going to go to these other locations. But they're not Thailand. They don't have the same beaches. They don't have the same culture. And I think, as was just expressed there, the people in Vietnam are not as outwardly friendly. They may feel just as friendly, but it's not something that they show or wear on their faces like people in Thailand tend to. Prediction from Rit. I'm just going to delete that because that's absolute garbage. Okay, and I'll remove that, and if you post it again, I will remove it again, Rit, and I'll ban you. Beer's gone up, Tim, 10 baht, says John Peake. Well, that'd be interesting to, if you've noticed any inflation, tell us in these dying moments of this morning, and we'll compare prices. So let's have a bit of an inflation watch. If you've seen rising prices in Thailand, please tell us. Mr. Mike says, I was scuba diving with Dive Master, who was diving when the tsunami hit. A wild story. I imagine it probably was, and glad you're okay. Salva says people aren't flying simply because it's so expensive at the moment. The pass or COVID insurance requirements being inhibitors are simply not true. Salva, I'm sort of erring on that particular opinion. If people actually really want to or need to come back to Thailand, then I think the impediments are fairly slight, but it's going to stop some people for sure. As far as flying inside Thailand, I've still noticed you can get pretty cheap internal domestic fares if you book early enough. I usually book at least 1 or 2 weeks before my flights, and I'm still getting to Phuket, Bangkok, or Bangkok, Phuket for less than 1,000 baht, and that's with Thai Vietjet. Not that they're paying me to promote them, but they just happen to fly out of Suvarnabhumi, and they're a discount airline, so it suits me, and they always pop me in an exit row, so I'm quite happy about that. Lack of pilots and air staff due to vaccination damage. I don't think that's true. Do you need a print-out copy of the Thailand pass upon arrival? I don't know. I think so, but I don't know. If you did, I'm sure that information would be on the Thailand Pass website. Mind you, I would be very careful about printing out everything and having a spare copy of any documentation as referring to your Thailand Pass and your documentation, your vaccine certificates, your insurance coverage. Just print everything out, have a spare copy, and also, take a photo, have it all on your phone as well. Just be prepared. The 3 Ps: preparation, preparation, preparation. Big change up, 3 baht, chicken breast raw up 105 baht, was 55 baht at Big C. Thanks, Peter. I actually buy chicken breasts each week, so I'll have to have a good look at the prices today. I'll be heading off this afternoon. I'll see you in not Big C, well, Macro in Talang's, where I usually go. Vietjet nickel and dimed me for the extra luggage and to pre-choose my seats. You must travel light. Yeah, I've got this backpack I've had for a couple of years now, and I travel just with the backpack, my computer and a pair of underpants and a spare shirt. I travel very, very light these days. I never, ever check in luggage, and I've never checked in one single piece of luggage in 11 years here in Thailand. I just want to make my travel plans very simple, as cheap as possible, and very easy, so I don't leave anything for chance. So I've never checked in a piece of luggage, even when I go overseas. When I went back to Australia, I was there for 2 weeks and I just had stuff in my backpack, which I put in the overhead locker compartment. I missed that. I got a great price for Melbourne to Bangkok in July flying Jetstar. The same flight is now 50% more expensive. Time it well and you definitely go where you want to go. Remembering that at the moment it's the wet season in Thailand, which doesn't mean it rains all the time, it just rains occasionally and very occasionally. And it's usually the time of the year where you get cheaper flights into Thailand. That's clearly not the case at the moment. But yeah, you just really got to shop around. Mr. Mike says inflation for airfares pre-COVID, San Francisco to Phuket, $600 is now $1,400. And somebody talking about airfare from the west coast USA to Bangkok now starts at 2,000 RT. 2 years ago it was less than half of that. I take 7 kilograms for a 4-week trip. Well, Tex, I'm about the same. What backpack do you use? Oh, KJ, you're not going to be impressed. I'll show you. Hang on. There it is. That's my backpack. There's nothing in it at the moment, so it does sort of expand a bit more. But just a flimsy, I don't know, 300 baht backpack I've had for 2 years. It's still 100%. There's not all the zippers still work. It's just a generic thing, probably made in China somewhere or Bangladesh. And I hope they made a few quid out of it. But yeah, just a very simple, cheap. I'll get that latte for you. Do you know where we could go get info on motorsports schedules so we can plan trips around major events? Looks like the sound just went. Okay, apologies for that. Somebody was trying to call me. It looks like when somebody calls me that this goes mute. So apologies for the 10 seconds or so that the sound dropped. I'll make sure they never call me again. Travel fund, please grab me a latte. I just will do that for you. Where should I send it? Timmy is driving in Phuket easy with the taxi mafia and them gouging customers. Is it worth renting a car? Yeah. Okay, let's put this as our final comments. I've been driving around Thailand for 11 years, either illegally or legally. The main thing, apart from the fact that you need a Thai driving license once you've been here for a little while, that your international driver's license runs out, and whatever legality allows you to drive here, the main thing is actually getting used to the rhythm of the Thai traffic. I was driving like an Australian and using my experience with the rhythm of Australian traffic whilst I was in Thailand, and I ended up having an accident and a few near misses. The last 9-10 years I've had no problems at all, and I'm very used to the different rhythm of the Thai traffic. And as I've mentioned in another editorial this week about the Thai road toll, if you're not between the ages of 18 and 25, male, or under the influence of alcohol and drugs, your chances of having an accident in Thailand are as low as most other places in the world. It's just one particular demographic that adds to a very high proportion of the road deaths in Thailand. Oh, and on a motorbike, by the way. 75% of the road deaths are people on motorbikes. So I don't have any problems with driving in Thailand. The road toll is horrendous, but it is one particular demographic, and that doesn't tend to be spoken about very often. John says, I miss Thailand, especially Patong. Driving in Thailand is simple. I didn't get a chance to renew my driver's license in Thailand before I went back home. I do need to reapply for my driver's license here in Thailand, something that I will be doing in the next couple of weeks. By the way, I've got a person who drives me most of the time whilst I'm here in Phuket. Although I will admit to getting on my motorbike and zipping down to the 7-Eleven from time to time, and I don't have a motorbike license, but I am getting a proper Thai and motorbike license, pretty much getting my ducks in a row for a long-term stay in a place that I now call home. Is that a QR code shirt today, Tim? Yeah, it looks a bit like it, doesn't it? you want to scan it? See what happens. Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, I'm a bit devoid. Most of my good shirts are up in Bangkok. I haven't got many down here, but I'll be moving back to Phuket fairly soon. So I do want to make sure that I bring some of my shirts back with me. When natural gas costs $12.50 in Canada, I'll need to move to Thailand and go solar. Morning, Tim. It's minus 9 degrees in South Africa and minus 9 degrees in South Africa? Sure. Does it get minus? I didn't know it ever got that cold in South Africa. Good heavens, Andre, if that's right. Minus 9 degrees. Or are you up on top of a mountain or something? Good heavens. And Tim is an old school backpacker from Khao San Road. Really, I used to be fairly formal. I used to sort of dress up and put a tie on when I got on a plane. These days, I'm very much into just floating on whatever's comfortable. And yeah, the backpack serves me fine. And just finally, I'll just make a comment, John. Tim Spill, you're leaving the Thaiger. Yes, I'm leaving the Thaiger and DBV, and that happens on July the 29th will be my last day with the Thaiger. My connection to the organisation will finish on that date, and it's been a long 6 years. I founded the Thaiger back in October in 2016, and it's now time for me to leave the next generation of leaders at the Thaiger, now an organisation of some 35, 40 people, to take it to the next level. And I'm very excited for them and for the team as they take this great little business into its next generation. And all I can do is wish them the very, very best, and good luck to the team. And as I said in my Facebook post yesterday, a big thanks to Mike, Brennan and Paul for working with the old wrinkled Aussie guy for the past 6 years. It's been a big chunk of my professional career, and I've thrown my heart and soul into it, but it's now time to depart and move on and leave the youngsters to take over from this old hack. So yeah, that's time you got a better paying job with the Lion. Look, I don't have another organisation specifically that I'm going to. Probably have a bit of a swim in my new above ground swimming pool, and I'll think about it. I'm certainly not retiring. I'm not retiring. I've got a few more years in me. I'm fit and well and happy, and I still think I've got plenty to contribute. I've got obviously a lot of working knowledge of Thailand and the nuances, and yeah, I hope I'll be able to continue bringing you some information from Thailand on one platform or another. Did you sell or were you pushed out? I haven't been pushed out. This is my decision. I've been discussing it with the chairman of DBV for a few months, and yes, it's a very amicable departure after a long contribution. I've seen a lot of changes in the business. I've been responsible for a lot of changes in the business, and it's now time for the next group of people to come through. Okay, so that's about all from our discussion this morning. It has been a lot of fun, and when I turned on the machine, the magic internet machine, at 10 o'clock this morning, it was raining. I can now see plenty of blue sky out there in Phuket, so looks like we're going to have a fantastic day ahead. Bangkok, as I flew out last night, after a whole week, I didn't see one drop of rain for the whole week last week. As I was flying out, the aeroplane took off and then it veered off to the left, or do we have to say to port, because there were some looming thunderstorms. We sort of flew around those, then flew above them and headed towards south to Phuket. So I think there was going to be a few stormy hours in Bangkok last night. So Tim, you can become a YouTuber. I don't know, maybe. Have a great weekend, guys, says Dam, and all I can do is share that thought with you. Do have a fantastic weekend, And I look forward to speaking to you on Tuesday. I'll be doing, Tuesday we're going to be doing Good Morning Thailand with Mike. And on Wednesday, I'm doing it with Sean Stenning from 5 Star Marine. He's a good chatter, and it'll be interesting to ask him about the current tourist situation on the southern island. And then Thursday and Friday, I've got Jay coming back, and I'll be sitting with him to bring you all the latest news on those days. So looking forward to speaking to you all next week. Have a fantastic weekend. But from the Thaiger and everybody in our team, and these two people sitting behind me, have a fantastic weekend.